Welcome to another dose of SirToshi's podcast. I've got Bearoshi with me today. We're just going to be freestyling and having a chat as usual. Today's day is Sunday, the 18th of August, 2024, the year of 1,000,000 transactions per second and more.
SirToshi, like a cowboy.
Made a mistake there. There we go. Experience the best of both worlds today at betbitcoinsv.com, the best casino and sports betting on chain. Have a little flutter in private using the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin. Right, let's cue the music.
SirToshi, like a cowboy in the West, riding on the blockchain that they call the very best. 1,000,000 strong, them transactions flying free. Just wait for the terror node, you'll surely see.
There we go. Bearoshi, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey.
I'm here.
Excellent.
What's up, man?
Well,
How you doing?
mate, I'm good. I'm good. It was good that you messaged me to talk about that chat I had with Reggie Middleton the other day, and on Gavin Mayall's spaces that he held on Twitter. I actually had quite a few people saying, "Oh, we got Reggie Middleton on board." That's going to be a real bonus for BSV because I'm not really too sure of Reggie Middleton's story. I mean, I know he created Veritasium, and he was saying that he had a patent on something to do with trading bitcoins and stuff, but he hasn't really done anything that's piqued my interest, so I haven't really paid too much attention to him. But a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, you've got." I had quite a few people saying, "Oh, you schooled Reggie on Gavin Mayall's Spaces the other day," and I was just like, "Yeah." So, and then you obviously messaged me about that. So, what's your take on it?
It was embarrassing because I wanted to get more of a knowledgeable fighting, back and forth with what you have to say and what he have to say, because it's like you explain what the difference is between security and commodity network. And then at the end, it's like after you got done saying that one statement, he said, "All right, I got to go." But then he left for like a minute or two, and then the other gentleman asked a question, then he came right back. So I'm like, well, why did you do that? Why did you say you have to go and you still stayed on? You could have kept that conversation going and explaining more about your view about security and what you were saying about the commodity network. And so I just thought that was, I have seen endless and endless amount of his content, and he went back and forth more with people at different meetups of different crypto projects and debated with them. And I'm like, well, why you didn't do that this time? I mean, somebody who he wasn't arguing with you, he was explaining about what a commodity is. And it wasn't no rabbit hole that somebody went down. We didn't even take the lid off of it. We're just simply talking about a security, how it's centrally controlled, and a commodity is for the common people. Because that's the side I'm on, is for the people, not to be centrally controlled and, all right, here's a few crumbs while I still got the bread on the table. Go ahead about your business. And so when he was explaining about the beneficiary, I was like, what is this now? What does this have to do with the commodity network when it comes to even a security? Even when you want to buy something, and you explained that very simple, how it's called securities fraud. When you buy something, it's not secure. That means it's open. And his, I want to say his partner or somebody who just with the very community of Riz, he had mentioned that on the very group that Veritasium is meant to be running on blockchain, different ones, but the only one that I know of as of now that he's on, that the project is on, is Ethereum. And Ethereum is centrally controlled. Vitalik Buterin said this on video.
Yeah.
Is back doors open.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why in the heck do I want to be involved with the project where y'all could just close up shop whenever you want to. That was horrible. And then when you mentioned about before you came on, just a little bit before you came on, it was talking, he was explaining, I think to someone who was just explaining, asking a question. He was talking about when he was at the BSV meetup. So he went to a BSV meetup in New York. And then he said what he mentioned to the audience is that, you don't need to worry about trying to buy Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. I said, let me shut up first in my mind and let me just listen where you're going with this. You don't need to worry about buying Bitcoin or anything like that. You need to worry about the infrastructure, and you need to worry about the infrastructure and what the investors are doing. Well, I said, well, I know I can't buy no infrastructure right now. I'm not no big time investor like BlackRock or any of these people who got endless pockets and they get to print it. So Craig Wright mentioned, in order for you to participate, you have to be able to buy the token, the BSV token. So it's like, how else people are going to be able to participate on the infrastructure if they don't have the money? So another way you could do it is buy the token that will onboard you. And I just thought that was I didn't agree with it. I'm like, what the heck is you talking about? Because like I said, I listened to him for, man, it's about it really probably 2 years after he started Veritasium and he filed for the patents. I listened to a lot of his speeches and a lot of his talks that he had with groups of people, and he always invited debates. Like, he liked to do that. So when he came across someone who had more insight, now let me not just say more insight, just who studied basic. Now let's just keep it there, basic.
Yeah.
And then you tried to, you was condescending after you said what you said about commodity, and then he said, well, I just let you win. What you talking about? Ain't it's not even a battle because you left. You said that I was, I'm not as smart as the guys on X and I'm just a dad. I get you, man. I respect that, but we're talking about the future here when it comes to finances. You have to understand the position that you in. And then I I cut off the video after what you said to him, and it was so simple. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. And even if you're right, I don't even agree with you. And you said that even if you don't understand what I'm saying, you're gonna have to if you want to have trouble with the SEC.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. It's not hard because I'm sitting here, I studied both sides, and he always encouraged that, to do your due diligence. And I took heed to that, and I did, humbled myself, and to know that I didn't know anything about Bitcoin. And I truly believe he thought you were still talking about Gridcoin and not about the original white paper Bitcoin. And I think he's a lot of people, even at the conference they just had, a lot of people still have it misconstrued about what Bitcoin really is, because is nothing. It's just going off price. Nothing else. No technology.
Yeah, as Craig said, it's you. Well, it's like Craig said, it's all about utility. And then I even try and simplify that even further by saying, look, if it's useful, it's valuable. If it's useless, it's worthless. I mean, literally, I'm trying to just trying to really make it as elementary as possible.
And I don't see how simple it could get than that. I don't know how else to not disrespect anybody intelligence that to dumb it down. Like, how else do you explain something? Because even what Gavin mentioned about the patents, and I had to understand what it means to cite patents and what's the difference between cited and infringing. And he mentioned that InChain has cited his patents on different patents that they have filed for, but it's not saying they infringing. It's just showing that I got a part or a piece of an idea from a previous patent or a current one that's still is still active. But I was just looking at uh you have the patents, but okay, you got that, but what is it now? What is the use case for it? And these are questions that I asked in the Veritasium group when I was once on it. And I got, well, I basically got silence. We can't talk about it because we can only talk about Veritasium related topic. And he mentioned that before he really officially got off, and that we only want to talk about very topic related things. But I'm like, you're at a BSV conference, so shouldn't that be open for discussion in the group? So that's why I'm not going to waste my time and speak about or even try to ask questions like the difference between Veritasium and BSV, because they had mentioned that the market is supposed to be like $1.65 quadrillion market. But then Craig Wright, he mentioned and in his technology and what he did that he want all of it. So I'm like, who's right and who's wrong? This should be discussed. Just like what you mentioned, security and commodity should be discussed. So I just said, well, I'm going to be on my own and do my own research, because when I try to ask questions, it's like, no, we're not going to talk about that. And it just showed itself the other day, I'm like, where'd you going, man? You just said it and you took more questions. I'm like, we should be able to talk about this. It's not about trying to be friends right now. We just trying to, well, in my opinion, and it could go as far as you can throw a boulder when it comes to other people. I want the people to understand what the difference is, so they can understand where they should put their time and effort into understanding a project.
Yeah,
because it's steps.
absolutely. Steps. It's pretty. I mean, did you? I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, the reason I shut up is because I just thought. I thought. Well, I could call him names, but just being diplomatic about it, I thought he was just making really poor excuses. Not to answer anything. And then, like, I was trying to. I mean, it's so stupid. I mean, this is why I ended up shutting up in the end, because I was just like, he's either a complete knob end, or he doesn't want to talk about it, because he was trying to sell a customer as being a beneficiary. Oh, they've received a benefit. Well, no, they haven't, because in order to receive this so-called benefit, they've had to hand over value. So they've lost value and then exchanged that value. So they've lost value initially before they get equal value in return, or something that they perceive as equal value in return. So you pay, $4 or $5 for a cup of coffee, and then you get a cup of coffee. So you haven't actually lost anything. You've exchanged that $5 for $5 worth of coffee, which you perceive as a fair exchange. There's no benefit. You would only benefit if you actually got something for free. Whereas you didn't get it for free. You handed over value. So you've lost personal wealth, in return for something of equal exchange. So there is no benefit. There is an exchange, and a customer is someone who consumes something. So a customer comes in, buys a product. There's no benefit in that, because he's just simply exchanged it for something of equal value, and therefore he can go and use it or consume it in whichever way he wants. There is no benefit there. And he was going, oh, yeah, but by that definition, then he's received a benefit. And I was just like, mate, you are being a dick. And I just thought, I can't be bothered with this anymore. That's why I just shut up. Because I thought he's either being a dick on purpose, which I suspect so, or he's a complete ignoramus, and just stay away from those kind of people, because they're the kind of people that are going to get themselves in trouble. because they're ignorant and stupid and they don't know what they're doing. So it could be either or with him. I mean, he's already in trouble with the SEC because he's doesn't know the difference between a commodity and a security. And he for his product, because that's what he created with Veritasium. He created a product, but then he created an ERC20 token and tried to sell his a product as a speculative token. And that's where securities come in, because it's like, oh right, so you can only get this product if you buy this token, but the token is speculated on a market. Well, that's a security because you can create as many of those tokens as you want. It's not. It wasn't a product. So whether or not he was trying to, maybe he was trying to dig himself out of the hole that he got into with the SEC, but saying, I didn't get this, I didn't understand. But then, ignorance is no excuse when it comes to the law. That was my opinion. Did you sort of like get that kind of feeling, or what was your take on it?
Yeah, this is the first time that I seen with videos or audio recordings that I had listened to in the past that he stepped away from, quote unquote, a dogfight of when it comes to what you're standing for and what you're standing for, as far as sharing knowledge of a topic that's very important right now. And I looked at it from what my point of view of listening to, you're trying to just give him more information publicly about what a security is, and if you're not aware, I just want to make you aware. That's it, man.
Yeah.
We ain't got to fight. You ain't got to tell me, one at a time. It's like, wait, we ain't bickering. We're having a discussion. and then for those who care, let's just talk about the difference between security and a commodity. So the Howey test. You have investment of money. You have a common enterprise, a expectation of profit, and then you have somebody who got to influence it, a promoter.
Derived from the efforts of others is the last one.
Yeah. So through the effects of the promoter. And so now I'm looking at the digital commodity side. So you got a common starting point. You have common, neutral, organic growth. That's without a central point of influence.
Yep.
Okay, number 3, you have economic competition, common entry and an exit to compete within the network. Then number 4, you have common accountability, a chain of digital signatures that Gradcoin does not have. So you have number 5, a lock protocol, so no one can change it and no one controls it. And now I guess this is more of a question. So for the SEC that took his tokens, so that means it's not a lock protocol, correct? Or am I wrong?
Well, he just created his token on Ethereum. It's literally an ERC20 token. Nobody else had the opportunity to create that token, and nobody can get it, because they can't compete for it. The only way they can get that token is if Reggie distributes it. Yeah, as in puts those. So let's say Reggie makes himself 1 million tokens, and then he says to an exchange, "Oh, well, I'll give you 10% of these tokens to sell on the market," and then so the price and the 24-hour trade volume, which sets the price of those tokens, basically it gives him a huge market capitalization of the 90% of the coins that he holds himself. So literally there is no other. Think about this. There is no other way to distribute anything fairly unless people compete for it. If a network is not competitive, it means that someone somewhere is controlling it, and you can't get those items. You can't get those tokens. Because the only way you can get them is if they decide to give them to you. Because there's no competition in the network. Economic competition is the only way to allow fair distribution, because those who want it will compete for it, and those that don't just simply won't. And they're like, you do it, I'll buy off you or whatever. There's no other way to distribute tokens, and that Veritasium is like I said, an ERC20 token. on the Ethereum network. So it's not economically competed for in terms of its distribution. It's absolutely a security, and if he doesn't know that or hasn't figured out, he's going to get into a lot of trouble, just like all of these other shitcoin creators are going to.
So when it comes to the project that or the product that he made with like Veritasium, I never understood like what is it going to do for the people. But then I looked at a older video about 4 months ago, and he was on with a I think Black Crypto something
Oh yeah, I
conference
think I think I saw it. Yeah, yeah.
and he mentioned and they asked like, so what is it going to do for people? Like, is crypto going to take like poor people out of poverty or something like that? And he basically just said no. I'm like, well, it's like, wait, well, what is it for then? If it's not for the people, and again, that's what I stand for. And I have it pulls at my heartstrings when people suffer. And it's like, when somebody is sitting here, they took time out of their life, not schedule their life, to create something for the common people. I'm like, well, what is your project for? What is it going to do besides with businesses and corporations and things like that? I just never heard anything for the people, because what others have said, not what Reggie said, but what other people have said, is that you just buy this golden ticket, and just sit back and wait for things to get settled out with this case that he's involved with the SEC to be done for, and some other things will have to happen for you to start seeing the value of Veritasium. And for years, I always wanted to get a common understanding, like, what is it though? And I was just, it was just confusing to me. It's because he have other things that he's working on, proof of this and proof of that, and I just never seen at a point before I even learned about BSV. I was trying to understand where my place at in all of this. 'Cause I would like to contribute some type of way, but I never seen a place for me, because it really doesn't look like it for people in general, for his project and what he built it for. So that's where I was at. And then I understood more, learning more about what this test is. So the last two, and I'm going to read it here: unbounded scale. So limitations and restrictions cannot be manufactured, and the network not be manipulated. And then 7, a fixed token supply, so no one can change it and no one can control it. It's like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's how you go through the security and the commodity. If these projects are not doing this, and it's not like verbatim, but sticking to the outline, it's like, I don't want to touch it. But they don't teach this stuff. That's why, people are more confused when you come on and you speak just common sense. And it's like, well, why? What are you talking about? I never heard it. Just because you haven't heard it before, that doesn't mean I'm wrong in what I just said. That just means you have to do more research and to humble yourself. And that's something that I said, man, you need a big slice of this, man, a humble pie, because you have to understand you don't know everything. And that's what else it came across. Like, I know more than you, and you just need to be quiet. I didn't appreciate that. I said, well, how else we gonna learn? That's how you exalt yourself, by humbling yourself. You have to. It's like, what else you gonna do when it comes to trying to gain more knowledge? And I'm trying to look out for you, even though I don't know you personally. I know dealing with any type of government agencies is not fun. And I'm just trying to, hey man, I'm just trying to throw a few pointers at you, few nuggets for you to look at. Hey, look into this a little bit more. Get collaborate with your team and see what else how we can get out of this and continue to grow the business or whatever it may be. So that got me. I was like, man, I wish you would have stayed on because he mentions that BlackRock and what they're doing, other big boys have Bitcoin ETF. He said they're buying more infrastructure than Bitcoin ETFs and ETH. I'm like, well, they just put a big old sign on Wall Street saying they got more Ethereum. I'm like, I think they're buying more Bitcoin and they're telling people to, get more, get more. So as you pump the price, you keep on pumping it, and then it's gonna dump. I'm talking about massive dumping. There ain't enough tissue, toilet paper in the world just going to clean it. I'm like, this is gonna be bad, man. People, I'm like, this is common sense, man. This is not looking good at all because of what people fail to do. And he preached this, do your due diligence. And I took heed to that. And so when he mentioned again, another point that I got, he mentioned right before you came on, if anybody want to have a discussion, we could talk about it. He said, "Here I am, Reggie." And I was like, he was not expecting that. He said something to the point, I wasn't like prepared. Well, I said, I don't think he came up here with no presentation either. Let's just talk it out. Let's hash it out respectfully. And so when a person is explaining about a security and what he mentioned, only thing I got from it was the when he mentioned about the beneficiary, I said, well, then you mentioned about, well, it had to be secure. And if it's not secure, then you got securities fraud. So we don't want to buy a security asset that's centrally controlled. So with Bitcoin having a common value, it's like, if this is common for the people, then people are going to use it because not only is it patented, but people are going to have a use case for it. And this use case you could find on BSV Association. You could look on the tabs at the top somewhere like that, and it's one, it will take you to businesses that are using BSV right now, companies. And then if you truly want to understand who's using it and what's the use case, you could reach out to those companies and then see and then you could ask them if they respond to you, or write them, send an email. How is BSV benefiting you and your business? And I would bet that you would get a good response because of what they're doing, because it has a use case for businesses and for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and as far as I'm aware, I mean, I haven't really looked at Veritasium and all that, but from the gist of what I kind of like overheard, like earwigging on conversations, what people have said, it was just something that allowed people to get coins like to and from exchanges, something like that, something to do with trading anyway. And but there's no value in trading. There is in fact trading devalues the asset, because literally all you're doing is creating a Ponzi market. You've got buyers who think they're buying because they think it's going to go up, and you've got sellers who are only selling it because they think it's going to go down. So those people who are selling it thinking it's going to go down are mugging off those people who are buying it. So someone loses somewhere, and at the end of the day, unless you're in control of the medium of exchange that's trading the asset, like the US dollar, for example, then you don't know what's going to happen, because it's those who control the medium of exchange, i.e. the US dollar, that control the markets. Because they can give the impression that everyone's going to sell, but then they can buy everything up after everybody's sold it. Or they can pump the price like they've done previously with like the likes of Amazon. They pump it, and then massively dump it, and everyone else goes, "Oh, the share's dead, nobody's going to buy it," and they're just like, "Right, we'll clean up here now," because they're the ones, and then they buy the majority stake in the company, which gives them a controlling share.
It's just control. It's
Yeah.
controlled to the simplest degree.
Yeah, I mean this is why, money, the medium of exchange, has to be a commodity, because if it's not a commodity, someone somewhere is controlling it, and I've written an article before about where there is an opportunity for somebody to win really big, there will always be the incentive to try and make it happen, because they know they can. Through if you've got a criminal entity in control of just creating this medium of exchange from nothing. It's literally it's a criminal market, and it also means that you can dictate and control the areas of the market that are developed. If you don't want a particular industry to take off, you simply don't fund it. That's it. Whereas if you're using a common medium of exchange that is a commodity, literally there is no central point of financing anybody who likes it that goes, oh, actually, yeah, that's going to benefit me. If you create a free energy device, that's going to benefit me because I can get free energy and I can power my home. Great, here's some funding for that. Whereas if you're the big banks and you're just like, actually, we don't like the idea of everybody getting free energy. We want everybody to purchase their energy from us so that we can control them. You're not going to get any funding. It's literally currency is literally the it is what makes what it means that particularly the markets that we're in at the moment, they are not true markets. A lot of these markets that they've created, like these ESGs, and wind farms and solar and all that, it's just absolute bollocks. There is no need for those markets whatsoever. All they've done is created a load of BS so that they can just simply print more funds and distribute it amongst their network. It's effectively a way of money. It's effectively money laundering, but you're not laundering money. You're laundering securities fraud. It will be fascinating to see how the world changes when it actually starts operating on a true money that nobody controls. Because then you'll get naturally occurring markets that benefit everybody, which is huge. So this trading thing that he created doesn't actually it actually devalues the actual market, because people are just basically shitting on each other. And then in a market where you literally have no use case and people are just shitting on each other, it's going to be a case of only the strongest survive. So these traders will outcompete one another until there's just one trader left that has everything, but then he's devalued everything that he's accumulated because nobody else has got it. And therefore there's no market for it. So he's basically shot himself in the foot by getting greedy and shitting on all the other traders and monopolizing the market, and then realizing that he's actually destroyed the market. So there's no value for anything that he's got, if that makes sense.
No, it do, because it reminded me of, he did a video last year at the New York Stock Exchange, and he had mentioned that Veritasium is going to be on the New York Stock Exchange floor. Oof. And I was just like, well, and the legit question I had for myself was like, how? How? And it never got answered. So I'm just like, it was confusing. So I don't have much input on that video of what he said about that. And I was just like, well, if that's the case,
that sounds ridiculous. That sounds to me like a pump and dump. That sounds to me like absolute BS. Oh yeah, quick, buy this before it gets listed on the stock market, because when it gets listed on the stock market, it's going to go crazy. Oh, I better get in there now. Yeah.
Because I haven't heard anything, like nothing. It's still New York. The stock exchange is still running how it's been going. I haven't heard any news because he was like anticipating like this is going to happen. Veri is going to run on it. Well, the stock exchange is going to be running on Veri, but then
is that what he said? Oh my god!
I have looked. This is not something I'm just speculating. This is what he said. This is a video because it was around like Black History Month or something. And he
Oh my
said they're
god.
gonna have a, one day they're gonna talk about a black man who created DeFi and very. I was like, this is what he said. I'm just like, I just left it alone. I didn't leave no comment. I just left the video wondering like how is that going to be the case? And we know how the stock exchange is and what you just mentioned. So I'm just like, how is this going to work out for your project and for your team? And it just didn't work out. So I'm just it, I'm laughing out of like frustration because I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
sitting here. I have to understand this for myself because of course, now we could go back when we're talking about law. You may not know it, but it's still going to be held up in court, even if you do or don't know it.
Mm.
That's your responsibility for you to be able to make the best decisions for you. But you have to learn. You have to sit down and learn for yourself. And that's not what I heard the other day on that live that he did. So I don't have much to say else about it. That's what I got from it. And of course about the appeal and people speaking about how Craig he didn't file for it, but I'm like, here we go again. It's a difference. You apply for it. You ain't get it granted. Yeah, you got to apply. Could take is I think they gave him, what is it, like 21 days for all this to go through for the appeal. And we're talking about a huge market right now. Cause I don't know where it's at, but I think it's still around that 2.5 for Greg coin, and that's very dangerous.
Well, yeah, the actual. Actually, I can have a quick look at it here. So, the market last time I checked was 2.2 trillion. Yeah, 2.1. So you've got an entire crypto market capitalization of 2.1 trillion dollars, and BTC is 1.1 trillion. $1 trillion market cap. $1 trillion market cap. Like,
Yeah, I'm just shaking my head at that. I was like, man, that's oof.
yeah, oh,
It's like,
yeah. Well, if you think about it, I mean, we are literally in the battle for the financial system of the world. Yeah, there is huge amounts at stake because you've got a very small group of people at the moment who can control the world reserve currency that dictates markets. They can dictate market however they please. You know, they control the army, they control the police force, they control everything. You know, and they are never going to be willing to let it go. So they will do anything and everything to try and distract people away from it. You know, make this market, kind of too big to fail. But the fact is, the market prices are dictated by supply and demand, even though they pump it with Tether. But Tether, all it does is pump BTC, and because the supply of BTC is fixed, it doesn't matter how much you pump it. The market cap of the thing that you are using to pump the market can never surpass the thing that you're pumping up. It just can't ever do it because it just constantly goes into it. And so if you've got those people who are in on this market and they're just like, actually, this thing doesn't do anything, it's useless, therefore it's worthless, that thing over there is actually useful to me, and I also need that usefulness in order to economically sustain my mining operation. Why am I holding this piece of shit when I need that thing over there? Because that's what's going to sustain my operations. There's nothing they can do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they pump it to. And I think that's what's coming.
it's all this pumping for the price. It's like it's just it's hard to understand. Well, it's not, but for people who just don't care about it, they saying these ridiculous numbers. It's going to go to 10 million, 20 million, and all this. I was like, well, That's a lot of money that need to be pumped
Yeah,
into it
yeah, it's a
for
lot
it
of
to,
tether they got to print for that.
I mean, 20 million. I mean, it's not going to stand on anything. It doesn't. Greg Coin does not stand on anything. It doesn't have anything to back it up. As far as like, well, what does it do? Oh, it just, we just speculate the price. That's it. I was like, well, that's not gonna last long. And then you ask yourself, well, cause you still have people like, well, what does BSV do? Well, it's many links. I'm sorry, it's a plethora of links you could look at
Yeah.
of what this project is doing. And it's not just talking about it, it's the transactions that's taking place. Even with the Aerospike, they've been in the news lately, well, on X and other social media platforms, of how the heavy traffic that's going to be needed for those transactions to be processed. And it's going to be, and well, not going, it's already is doing it on BSV. They're not doing anything else with no other crypto project. We not talking about what the price is going to be, what's the use case is going to be. Once they have a use, then we could start talking about price.
Yeah.
And that's what people are not missing. That's why I'm glad we having this conversation, because it need to, because you may not you, but a person may not be wanting to know the ins and outs of a crypto project. Well, why you having relationships with it? Why you want to have your money commit fornication with a project that's not going to be faithful to your dollar?
Yeah. Good way of looking at
That
it.
it's not going to work out. So you want to look at somebody who's going to be faithful to you, who's going to be respectful, all those things. And if you find somebody like that, you found the good one. So when it comes to your money, that's the same way you're gonna have to look at it. You're gonna have to take your time, sit down, get to know somebody before you start investing in them. And if you want to skip past all that because you looking how pretty they are,
Yeah.
well, the cliche saying, everything ain't glitter, ain't gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
like, yeah, she may look good at first, but it's like, hey, I'm like, man, few moments in, few months in, he's like, man, she ain't looking right no more. Because you ain't do your research. You didn't do your research. So that's the same thing. You want to look at where you gonna put your money at. And the reason why I'm saying this, because I didn't do it. I did it. I just thought Bitcoin, the Greg coin was it. Like everybody was on that hype train, just like everybody else. It's like, hey, 1,000,000 Bitcoin coming in, 100K. And I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Never did no research. Even with Very, I did research, but it's still like I was still playing Russian roulette with it because I didn't have everything. I wasn't humble enough to understand, well, what is it actually going to do for me? And when I mean me, it's like the common person, common people. So it's horrible that people don't want to have patience. They want to drive Lambos. It's like, fine, go ahead. I'm not saying nothing is wrong with that, but before I get the Lambo, I want to make sure I can afford it. Before I want to go out and say, well, I got me a Lambo because Bitcoin is at 100K or a million right now, and then it just flopped to like it dropped 10K so fast, like it wasn't nothing. And that was proof right there. Even more, it don't have any use case. You go try to swap for it right now, or you go try to use it, and it's slow. $35 fee.
Oof.
It's like, what? You ain't doing nothing for me, man. It's like, so as hard as it may be, hey, we gotta cut this relationship off because it ain't working. I gotta go over here because this project know how to do it right. Yeah, it may have its little hiccups, but that's why you do the testing before you put it on the main net. I mean, I ain't gonna get all techie with it. I'm just trying to keep it fundamental based and simple. So I'm not here for the coding. It got this much code in. It's like, no, we've got through all that. You figure, and I asked myself when I was listening to that live the other day, who want to take out? How long has it been? About 15 years since '09, well, '08, '09, that from the white paper to where we're at now. Nobody is going to go through that grueling process of trying to do something right. They want that fast money. Like I said before, they want it fast, they want it now. And
Mm.
Bitcoin said, well, hey, I could do that for you. The Gred coin, the fake one, I could do that for you. Hey, just come over here. I'll take care of you. Just don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. It's we gotta do better. That's what, and even if nobody don't listen, it's fine. They nobody won't be able to say I didn't tell you so, because you got this channel, you have other channels who are full of wealth of knowledge, and that will help you to get a proper understanding. If you never heard of what Bitcoin is, the original white paper Bitcoin is, and then when you have that research behind you, you just don't have the truth. Now you have something to back it up with. You got facts. And that's what we got now. This is what I've been missing out on. It's the facts. I've been running my mouth like, yeah, I know what Bitcoin is. Like, man, I ain't never been humbled so much in my life. This year when it comes to Bitcoin, I was like, I ain't know nothing. I ain't know nothing. So yeah, and then somebody mentioned about Gary Gensler, like he knows what's going on too when it comes to the real Bitcoin. And he just not able to say nothing right now, or it's going to be quite a few people who have power and influence. Like, well, I told y'all it was Bitcoin, but yeah, you ain't tell us it was SV though. They gonna be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I've been
Jeepers.
telling you, it's Bitcoin this whole time. I could see whoever they choose to be president to be like, well, I told y'all it was Bitcoin. Well, no, you didn't. You told it was this. Like, no, I told you a million transactions per second. Like, no, you didn't. No, they not. It's a mess. It's a lot of noise in this space, and you have to turn it down to get to the meat, of the truth, so you could benefit from it. Because yeah, we all here for to get the money, and hopefully that it will help our families out too, but it goes deeper than that. We want to make sure we on the right, not just the right side, but we got the right information, because it's info wars. It's a war or on information. How much is let out, and who's able to speak on it and who's not.
Yeah.
Channels like this should be well up there with the numbers, but it's obvious. You can see that's not the case, because of if you're not talking about Bitcoin, the fake one, then I'm not gonna get behind you. It's just like what you mentioned earlier about the banks. It's all controlled, and if you sitting here talking, you know, Gred coin is fake, it's like I ain't about to support you, give you no money, and that's what we see now.
Yeah, it's real crazy what's going on. But I mean, some of the use cases, again, I mean, yeah, Aerospike, the use case they've got is fantastic, because they're just like, look, we need to spot frauds in the system, because they're dealing with payments, and they're dealing with authorizing of transactions. So you need to know whether a transaction has been authorized or not, and you need to know really quickly whether or not it's a genuine transaction. That's massive, and other people are going, oh, we don't know if data needs to be permanent or not. Well, permanent records are absolutely required, so you can look back at history and look at what SirToshi are doing as well. I mean, their concept is amazing. So you literally take a snapshot of a computer software program, or even a hardware system, every 10 seconds, and then you can see within a 10-second window if any changes have been made, either to the software or to the hardware, which means you can then see whether or not a fault is going to occur, rather than actually having to wait until the fault has actually happened, and then it's too late because you've already had a data breach and stuff like that. Whereas if you've got literally a historical record, you can see exactly where and when and probably who, made this alteration for this, the computer virus or cybersecurity hack to start and get in. Whereas literally, if you've got the entire system being monitored by the Bitcoin network, every 10 seconds, boom, 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 you've got a historical record and you can see everything. I mean, that applies for all sorts of industries. I mean, let's take the national grid, for example. If you've got the Bitcoin network monitoring an energy grid, you can see where there are like energy surges. You can see where potential like infrastructure is being worn out. You can see if a switch has been flicked somewhere and who was there when they did it. Was it done on purpose? Has it been sabotaged? I mean, the possibilities are just absolutely endless on this thing. So yeah, absolutely. And then also having a network where when you upload your content, that it can't be censored. So it's just like, finally now we've got a digital network where I can speak my truth. I can say my opinions, and they're not going to be censored or taken down. And you can also, and again, you can challenge corruption in the law. They say, look, I know I'm following the law because this is the law that I'm citing. Oh, so you're saying this, are you? So show me in the law where it tells me that you're correct. And show me that law has gone through the rigorous tests to make sure that it's legitimate and that it actually benefits society as a whole. Where is that test? Show me, just to make sure that there isn't any tyrannical government coming in, if you know what I mean. That kind of stuff. And then also medical testing. You want to make sure that if you are taking a medication, a pharmaceutical product, for example, that it has gone through tests. And therefore, the only way to prove that it's gone through that test is to make sure that there is an immutable medical record of all the tests that it's been through and any potential side effects that it's had. If there isn't that immutable timestamp historical data record, you don't know if the data that you're looking at is legit. It's as simple as that. There are so many use cases for it, And
then Max, I think is Maximus Crypto, forgot his channel name, but I think Maximus is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
He mentioned a video that you had did last November, I believe, and it was about when Elon Musk had talked about Bitcoin, actually BSV, and he mentioned how Twitch is.
Oh, that.
He was, I was because you mentioned about uploading and posting things. It's like, well, he mentioned he have to look more into that because he said it can potentially take over X as well.
Yes, somebody. I remember that. I remember that video. Somebody pointed out that when he referenced BSV, he wasn't actually referring to Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. The letters that he quoted, BSV, actually meant something else. And they pointed out, and I was just like, oh, really? That's a shame. Close one. Real close,
Yeah, that was. Wow. Yeah, because he mentioned, I was like, well, that would be interesting, but and then some comments mentioned that it may be AI that they was messing with and somebody used his voice and said it, but I don't know. But it was interesting if that was the case, like, man, if he understands it but not saying anything about it, that's a huge deal.
Yeah. And I'm guessing, all these people who are speculating, again, you can speculate until the cows come home, but utility is undeniable. At the moment, anybody who's in BSV saw that it was doing 1 million transactions per second, on Terranode consistently for 2 weeks without a single fault. You wait till that comes on the mainnet, and the miners know that they need the block fee to surpass the block reward in order for them to be able to economically sustain their mining operations. You know that that economics, those economic principles, you cannot deny. You can't say, "Oh, it didn't do a million transactions per second." Well, there you go, it did actually, and it's on an immutable database, so you can't deny it. And there's a Bitcoin payment with each of those transactions. And by the way, there's a million transactions per second, so even a million micropayments per second. After a 10-minute block, that is a huge amount. That's a huge amount of Bitcoin being used. But everybody benefits from it because the miners benefit from the block fee, and those who are using a Bitcoin for the services it provides means that they're saving millions, if not billions, of dollars on data securities and data efficiencies. So everybody wins.
Everybody. And speaking of everybody, now those who are interested, and far as like they still may have the question, well, where is it being used? Who using it? bsvblockchain.org/projects.
There we
And
go.
we'll show you everybody as of current of who's using it. You have Handcash, Rock Wallet, CentB, Centi, Token Simply Cash, you got Exodus and Neurocron, you have Electrum, different wallets, and then you have different categories of like non-custodial, news media, network, NFTs, music, mining, metaverse, and podcasts, productivity, regulations, smart contracts, social network. That got 17 hits. No, actually 19. And then you have spirituality and mindfulness, and you have sports, supply chain, technology, token. It goes on and on. And I'm like, when people keep saying, well, I don't see it, it's like, you're not looking. It's like, because I'm looking at it right now. It is these people not just using it just to be like, oh, okay, it's all right. Like, no, I will imagine if I'm running a business, I want it to thrive. And if this product that you're presenting me or that I came across is going to help elevate it, yeah, I'm going to use it. 7. And then Craig Wright, he put on his post that like it's only 7 transactions per second. And if the whole world used it, it'd take like 63 years for that your transaction to be settled.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like come on now. You can't refute that. You can't ignore is on a limited block size, 1 megabyte, 7 transactions. That's going to bag up some businesses. So I'm in the know when it comes to those who using it because it's public knowledge, and it just give you more, not just understanding, but more of a bigger picture of the use case and for different industries. Yeah, it's a lot going on that they are distracting people away from, especially because now every 4 years it's an election year, so people are really not going to be on the hunt for true understanding, and it's a shame, but it's like it's still going to be consequences to that. I was going to be a part of it if I didn't wake up to more information, to know that you don't know everything. And I never had that mindset, but I was content with what I knew at that time, but it still wasn't like, no, you have to sit down and understand you don't know everything, man. So you have to be open to any information, because now you have the power to accept it or reject it based off, if they correct or not with the facts that they present. That's what helps, and then after this appeal take place, and then you have Terranode that's still on the horizon. Like the proof is there. It's in your face this whole time. The lie and the truth but
Yeah,
that
and I wonder if after this next election, because certainly after the last two, everybody calls into question whether or not the election was stolen and blah 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 blah. And you've had both parties admitting that they've been tampering with the electoral machines. I mean, Barack Obama admitted. He goes, "Oh yeah, sometimes you have to do something." It's effectively, fighting fire with fire. So they're both at it. It's absolutely outrageous. What you need is the voting system on a network that can't be tampered with. It's almost like people haven't figured this out yet. That is like, actually, this is what Bitcoin was made for. We can now have a voting system on an immutable digital record. That's exactly what we need. So we can see if there are any tampering with the electoral system. How many votes came in where? Do those number of votes match the number of constituents in that particular area? Blah 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 blah. All this kind of stuff. It will expose all the skullduggery. And I'm guessing that's why actually the powers that be don't want it, because they're the ones who are like tampering with everything behind the scenes, and it will expose everything that they do.
They wouldn't want it. Like if something been working for them, they don't want everybody to know what they're up to.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they did, they would be exposed. Like, you talking about massive, like, I would
Corruption.
say riots. People are angry. They will like be out in droves, like if they actually knew what was really going on.
Yeah.
And then a side note, it was when you was on with Nick the other day, not that long ago. It was coming up about like the food and like McDonald's, and I just remembered, if not all fast food industries, they just signed the deal with the company that they make insects. And I'm like,
yeah.
So they trying to, because they say the prices, the inflation. So how can we bring it down? Let's make a cheaper menu, but we're still going to leave the crap that's been on there, but we're going to put more crap on there at a lower price, which is going to make you sick. So how is it that, and they saying this publicly? It's like, it's in your face again, and you have the power to be able to make that choice of giving into it or not. And what they're saying is, you're not going to be able to tell the difference, and it's going to be just as good if you just don't look at what we made it with. I'm like, golly, man, it's sad. It's sad. It's so sad. They are doing whatever they want, and people are allowing it. And I actually forgot this. I don't think we was even taught this in school, like the Boston Tea Party, and they raised hell for just a 2%.
Yeah.
And right now it's like, I don't think it'd be a whole United States if they do, if they allowed, if they was here, the same people now to go up on everything. Oh my goodness, no, we wouldn't have. It'd be unrest everywhere. So, and then it was an illustration about, it was the elites sitting at the table, but the table was made of humans, and the caption said, if only they just stood up, you can make a difference. And that's what a lot of people don't see. You don't have to fight, use guns and all that stuff. You could do it strategically, by applying yourself, acquiring more knowledge for yourself. That's how you can, quote unquote, fight back, because you don't want to be going up against no governments. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, we're talking about crazy. Actually, I've just sent you a link on.
Yeah,
yeah, mate. You wanna read and listen to that, mate.
Oh
man, mate, I'm telling you. I literally, when I first heard it, it's almost like you didn't want to believe it, but when you actually listen to it closely, like I did, to actually timestamp it, which is what I've done, and the link I've just sent you, mate, it's even worse. It actually kind of like affected me for about half an hour. I had to go and lie down. I was just like, whoa, this is heavy, you know. But people need to know it. They really need to know it.
Mm.
As you will find out when you listen to it. Have you ever seen or listened to anything like that before? Have you seen
Now
that?
I left off the one that you did. Is this the one that you did, or I left off at an hour 40?
No, it's only 55 minutes.
No, okay, so it was yours. No, I didn't listen to this one. No, I still trying to work through the one. I'm going to get into this
Oh,
though,
we're
but
silverfish. Is that the one
yeah,
you're
I'm
going
still
through?
working on that one. Cause I'm like, man, that the Titanic and how all this stuff they've been wanting this control for a very long time. Like they call Chick-fil-A Chem Filet because all the chemicals.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
that's
man,
right.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, well
It-
that one I've just sent you is time stamped as well. It's worth just kind of like having a quick read through it. It's just like wow. So this is what they're doing, and their history
Mhm.
goes back 75,000 years. 75,000 years that they know about. And what they said is that they basically took all of the knowledge in the Western world, that we had, and burnt it, and then
Mhm.
rewrote it in Latin, knowing that we wouldn't be able to read it. So they've literally got all this knowledge for themselves and then hidden it from us. They've got literally history going back 75,000 years. It is crazy, and I suspect that it was probably this lot that burnt the library at Alexandria. You know, and
Yeah, that's what they did in the Bible. They have took so many books out, and they
yeah,
took.
yeah,
I'm like, well, I know I don't have all the truth now if they taking books out, and because I just learned about the Constantine Creed, about all religions, where it came from, and it started, far as what I'm reading so far. That's why I'm saying I'm still going over it, but Christianity, Constantine, he made all that stuff up. Not he put it into play. He said, if y'all don't sign this creed, we're gonna have to kill you because it's a abuse of power. And that's what we have today. All of these religions that we have, it's all started with Constantine. It was very deep, learning that. I was like, wow. It's crazy, man. But I know the rabbit hole, as they say, go deeper because 75,000 years, I don't, it's not even enough in a lifetime to study all that.
I
Man,
know.
all the stuff they kept from us. Because I would say they looked at it, we are a threat, especially if the masses know. So if we just keep this to ourselves, then we could keep the control. But it's like if people start waking up, it's like it's gonna be trouble,
Yeah,
talking about all these things. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna look at it for sure.
nice, nice. Right, mate. Well, we've been going for 1 hour 8 minutes, so it's probably a good time to wrap up the show. We'll have to do this again. It's been good.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it, appreciate it.
Oh, nice. Right, folks. Well, if you enjoyed that, stay tuned for more because where there is one, there will also be another. So until then, we will catch you later.